So let's talk about awakening. What is necessary to wake up? If you look into the literature, especially Advaita, you will find a very simple method, which is to ask yourself, who am I? Or what am I? What am I is superior to who am I, because when you realize what you are, you obviously realize that you are not a somebody. And because you are not a somebody, you are something that is not a persona. It's not a personality. So if you keep repeating this question, what am I really, really, and you ask this question with sincerity, sooner or later the universe will respond to you. In a way, it is a devotional path. Devotion for the truth about you. I want to know really, what am I? What am I really? Not what I seem to be, this body, this persona, so and so. No, what am I really? So that method is available, it works. I'm sure it has worked for many. But eventually the answer comes as grace. And the grace is summoned by your devotion to truth, your desire for truth, your journey for truth. And then there is another way to do this, which is what happened to this mind-body organism years ago, 2012. And it is what could be called the path of introspection. And it is somewhat referred to in the scriptures as neti. So how this works? First of all, I want to say that if you listen carefully to what I'm going to explain, you may wake up before the end of this video, and I'm not kidding. But for that to happen, you need to go on doing the things that I'm going to suggest you do. Not just listening, but actually have a look. Have a look, as it's usually referred to as within, which is not within. Within, there is only one thing, and that is you, with capital Y. Everything else is outside you. So what type of things we find outside you? Let's start for something simple. Emotions. If you experience an emotion, you can name it with one word, otherwise it's a thought. If you can name it with one word, it is an emotion. Emotions can be positive or negative. It can be joy, or it can be anger, or fear, or guilt. or shame or sadness. So let's say you notice that there is sadness in the body mind. You look at the sadness, you have a look, and then you ask yourself, am I sad, or am I this sadness? And if you look inside, you will see that the relationship that you have with the sadness is subject-object. The sadness is the object. And there is something that is looking at the sadness. Otherwise, there could be no awareness that the sadness is there. So you look at the sadness and you say, okay, this is an object in front. It cannot be me because I'm looking at the sadness. So neti, that's not me. That's what it means. That's not me. Sadness is not you. Emotions are not you. And then you notice that there are thoughts passing by. And you look at the thoughts and you ask yourself, could I be my thoughts? This little voice here all the time talking? And then you begin to observe this little voice, this thinking, obsessive thinking, that sometimes disappears and then it comes back pretty soon. And you will realize that, again, thoughts are objects in front, so it cannot be you, because you're looking at the thoughts. So neti again. Your relationship with thinking is subject-object. You got to be the subject and the object is in front. So you cannot be your thinking. Then you look into a third mental object, your motivations. And for that I mean goals, desires, expectations, habits, your motivations. And then you look at one of your motivations. Motivations comes from the word movement. So motivation is that which makes you move, grasp something, look for something. And when you look at these motivations inside, you notice that there could be the motivation for eating something or drinking water. And then you realize that the relationship with that thing, with that mental object, motivations, again, is subject-object. You are the subject, and that motivations are objects arising in front of you. So you cannot be your motivations again. So neti, no, that's not me. Then you look into the fourth mental object, beliefs, powerful mental objects. Your beliefs about the world, which could be religious beliefs or political beliefs, and your beliefs about you. I am so and so, I am American or British or whatever. Your beliefs about you may include also I am an engineer or I am a clerk. I'm a married man or a single man. all these are called identifications. I am something. Beliefs about you. And then you begin to notice that these beliefs about you or the world arise in front. Again, subject-object relationship. I cannot be that thing. It cannot be my beliefs about you about me because I'm looking at them. I can even write them down. And then you look into the fifth mental object, which is sensations. And sensations there are 5 types of sensations, depending on the sense we are talking about: visual, hearing. And again, what's the relationship between you and the sensations? Subject, object. The sensations are in front. So again, you can't be your sensations. And there are only 5 mental objects. There are no more. So pretty soon you realize, okay, there are 5 mental objects in the human experience. They are kind of dancing in front. In front, they are objects, and they are kind of producing each other. An emotion triggers thoughts, thoughts trigger emotions. This triggers a motivation, a desire, for example, and then that produces sensations in the body. So these 5 mental objects are stimulating each other, and they are like in a dance. And this dance is in front of you, because it's been seen, right? And this is what we call the mind. The mind is this dance of mental objects, 5 mental objects, dancing in front. That's the mind. There are other definitions of the mind, don't worry, but this is a cool one. And then, as you keep on looking within, you may ask the question, what am I really? And what is this that is looking? What is this that is observing the dance of the mind? And then if you are capable of noticing that, you're practically there. You're almost awakened. By simply noticing the perceiving of these mental objects. And when I use the word perceiving, I'm not using it in its meaning as mental processing the information. No, just pure perceiving of these mental objects. There is perceiving. Obviously, otherwise you couldn't have found them. You couldn't have found them. Impossible. So there is perceiving, and there are these 5 mental objects dancing in front. And there is no other possibility. You got to be this perceiving, right? That's all. And this perceiving can be noticed. And who's going to notice that perceiving? Well, there will be noticing of the perceiving, right? But the word noticing can be interchangeable with the word perceiving. So there is perceiving of the perceiving. And that's it. It means that the perceiving is noticing itself. And that's the bottom line of the search. you can't find anything behind the perceiving, noticing the perceiving, or perceiving the perceiving, because it would be in front. Let's say if you imagine that there is a perceiver behind the perceiving, and you were able to find it, well, it would be in front, because you found it, so it's part of the mind, so which means it's imagination, basically. So there is just this perceiving, and there is nothing behind. And this perceiving of the five mental objects, or the mind, the dance of the five mental objects, the dance of the mind, this perceiving is your true nature. And we call it consciousness, or in English, awareness. In the Romantic languages, Spanish and French and so on, there is not such a thing as awareness, as a word, a translation. There is the word consciousness only. So awareness and consciousness are basically the same. And you are that. And if you have come to this point of not only understanding, but also seeing it in your own human experience, noticing the things that I have been talking about, you have come to this point, you are practically there. But still, there could be an additional point that is necessary for the awakening to get deeper, which is to begin to notice the qualities, the characteristics of this perceiving, and noticing that these characteristics are very different than the characteristics of the mental objects that are in front. For example, emotions are positive or negative. Same thoughts can be positive or negative, meaning they are part of the dualistic world. All the mental objects can be positive or negative. But the perceiving that is looking at them is neither. It just is. And you need to notice this. So take a moment, to just notice that the perceiving of the mental objects, the perceiving of this moment, of this present now, that perceiving is neutral. It's not positive or negative. It just is. It's non-dual. Then you may have to notice also that this perceiving is constant in your in the human experience, because it's not your human experience, it is the human experience of consciousness that is inhabiting this mind-body organism. So it's not your human experience, no. The human experience. In the human experience, the perceiving is constant. It goes on all day long. What is changing is in front. The mind is changing, yes. Emotions are coming and going. Thoughts are coming and going. Motivations are coming and going. The perceiving of those things is steady, is constant. The movie is changing. The eye, EYE, that is looking, is always there. And then when the night comes, you go to sleep, the perceiving still is there, perceiving the dreams. Consciousness continues. The perceiving or consciousness, or consciousnessing would be a better word, the consciousnessing continues. Watching the dreams. And then in deep sleep, which is like a deep meditation, the consciousness withdraws inside, and then the objects, the mental objects, tend to subside. Consciousness is within and is resting within. You could argue, well, then it's not there. Not necessarily. It still is there. It's like a turtle that has withdrawn its limbs inside. Why we know it's there? Because if somebody moves your body, you wake up. Not you, but consciousness. Third characteristic of consciousness, or this perceiving. Emotions have forms, because you can distinguish one emotion from a different type of emotion. Let's say anger is different than joy, and you can separate them, you can distinguish them. So the only way that this is possible is because emotions have form. Subtle form, but they do have form. Same thinking. You can distinguish one thought from another thought. If you write down the thoughts, you can distinguish the grammatical structure of one thought versus another thought, because they do have form. All the mental objects have form. All five. The perceiving, the looking at the dance, that consciousnessing of the dance has no form. Is undifferentiated. It's like if you have the still water, you can't say this is a special water, it's just a still water, pure water. Same, consciousness is in the mind-body organism, and this would be like a bottle, and it's also in this plant, because the plant is also a mind-body organism for consciousness to experience the environment. How do we know? Well, because the plant is capable of orienting its leaves and branches towards the light. So there is perception there, there is perceiving of the environment, there is consciousnessing. So there is consciousnessing in all animals, in all human beings, in all plants, trees, everywhere, wherever there is life, there is perceiving, there is consciousnessing, and is undifferentiated. So it's like having the still water in different containers. Same thing, consciousness, pure consciousness is present in all sentient beings throughout the universe. Trillions of trillions of trillions of sentient beings throughout the whole universe. And consciousness is looking through those mind-body organisms, and is one undifferentiated consciousness, which is looking through the mind-body organism you call me. Erroneously, because it doesn't belong to you, and the me cannot be found anywhere. So when you have already discovered these three characteristics of consciousness, meaning it has no form, it's undifferentiated, it is non-dual, and it is constant, you're practically there, almost awakened. Almost. There is one more thing that has to click. You got to ask the question, okay, I have looked into the human experience carefully. I have found 5 mental objects, and the perceiving of those 5 mental objects, or the consciousnessing of those 5 mental objects, I have discovered that this consciousnessing has these peculiar characteristics, very different than the characteristics of the mental objects. I can reduce this to there is a mind and there is a consciousness looking at the mind. Nothing else. So where is the me? This is what will make you wake up. Where is the me? Where is me in this whole thing? Well, sorry, the bad news. You are not there. You're not there. Keep looking for you, and you won't find yourself. You already found everything that is present in the mind, in the human experience, and the rest is stories, more stories of the mind. Stories about me, my story, my degrees, my persona. Thinking and feelings about you, a you that doesn't exist, that cannot be found anywhere. And this is awakening. Awakening is there is no one here. Yes, that's awakening. There is no one here, there is just a consciousnessing of the environment here. That's awakening. The other day we were walking with my wife along a beautiful lake that is nearby, and there was a little girl there with her family, and she was talking. And right when we walked in front of her, she said in Spanish, "No hay nadie aquí," which means there is no one here. I'm not saying she was awakened, but the coincidence was very interesting, because I laughed and okay, I'm being reminded, and it's not even me being reminded. There's not a me, there's no one here, there's no Gian, there's no you. All beings are empty of a self. There is no self inside little self. All beings are empty. That's the Buddhist teachings, right? All sentient beings are empty. Empty of what? Empty of self. What type of self? With lower caps S, little s, ELF. No separate self. There is self with capital S, SELF, meaning consciousness. Yes. That's present in all sentient beings, including what you call including what you call me, which is this mind-body organism, because the me cannot be found anywhere. So that's awakening. Awakening is the realization that, as this little girl said, no hay nadie aquí. I don't know why she was saying that. Meaning there is no one here. That's awakening. What is good for? There are many awakened sages that have asked themselves this question: what is good for? What is awakening good for? Well, it's the truth about you, no less, like it or not. And it brings changes, psychological changes in the mind-body organism. It's like awakening begins to rearrange all your internal psychology. Gradually, it's not like this, although sometimes could be very dramatic, but it's not the case every time. You become happier, but it's not you becoming happier. There is more happiness in the mind-body organism, more relaxation, less of grasping and pushing, and there's more acceptance of what is. Many benefits come, psychological benefits come with awakening. Yeah. You don't take yourself so seriously because you know that there is nobody there. There's a body, but there is no one there. So I hope this helps you. Look, through this process, you may be already there. If you can't see it, don't be harsh on yourself. Although there is nothing complicated about this, it's pretty simple. On the other hand, what makes it difficult to see is our programming. We have hammered the word I and me and myself and mine so many times throughout our lifetime that is a heavy program about this fake self. So don't be surprised that it's kind of difficult to see that there is no one there. I hope that at least what I have explained is bringing you closer to this insight or realization. But if you feel that you're not getting it, don't blame yourself. This is fighting against a very deep entrenched program, the whole program of the ego, of me. And sometimes this can be so tricky that in some traditions in the Zen literature, it is accepted as a premise that awakening has to be transferred from one teacher to the student, one Zen master to the student. I don't like these words actually, but teacher to student, meaning one individual that already saw this clearly to another one. And that it is unlikely that it's going to happen spontaneously. You need the help of someone that has already awakened. This is in some of the Zen traditions. Is that true? I don't know. I guess that some people wake up anyway, without the help of a teacher. It was not my case. I had tried so many things, and one time I went to a retreat, and the teacher said this during the retreat, and then it clicked, and I remember the thought, well, this is the only thing I haven't tried, to really hire a teacher to help me to wake up. So when I go back to LA, we were living in LA at that time, I'm going to look for a teacher. And yes, we arrived to LA, and a few days later, I got an email with a teacher that was offering awakening sessions. Then I called him, and he was living just a few blocks away. And he began to come to our home, and I was pretty slow, so it took like 6 months to wake up. But the help of the teacher was valuable. Today, I don't think you need 6 months at all. After the awakening, I pretty much realized this whole thing that I'm talking about now became crystal clear during the awakening. It was like a cascade of insight after insight after insight. And Nisargadatta Maharaj talks about this. He explains in his teachings that awakening happens as a result of a cascade of insights. So eventually I wrote down all these insights, which I have shared with you today. And I put them in a system with graphics and exercises to help my students to wake up. And I was already seeing some students, I was helping them with other things. And I call this system, this methodology, the awakening protocol. So if this video doesn't do it, consider the awakening protocol. Look for the link below this video. And give me a call. I will be happy to help. And the awakening protocol has helped quite a few people through the years. It works. We will review together the whole thing that I have explained today, but we will take more time. The protocol takes about 4 hours on Skype, and we go little by little doing exercises of looking within until you come to the realization that there is no one here, or no one there, no one everywhere. Yes, there is no one anywhere. There is just one consciousness, one self, with capital S, throughout the whole universe. And other realms too. Another situation is that you may be already getting very close. You may notice that you are close to seeing the whole thing. That was my case when I hired this teacher to have kind of coaching sessions. I knew I was close, but I was not. I was close. There was closeness. The awakening was close. So you may be in that situation that you notice, you know intuitively that you are very close, but still something is sustaining the veil, the illusion of the me. If that is the case, also consider the awakening protocol. Look within. look below for that link. So I hope this has helped you. It's not difficult. You can wake up with this video, and you can use the video to wake up by watching it many times. The number I recommend is 21 times, once a day for 21 days. And you keep on watching the video, and it will become more and more and more and more clear what has been explained, until there will be such clarity that the awakening will be a reality, that there is no one here will be crystal clear to you. Good luck.